Hey, many people think the journey with multiple sclerosis might be a slow train chugging into oblivion. For some, it is. For me, it was more like a roller coaster ride full of unexpected turns, dizzying heights, and stomach-churning drops. I'm about to take you through my experience navigating this wild and unpredictable world, focusing specifically on how my semi-annual infusion of Ocrevus is now playing its pivotal role in my journey. So, I just had my 6-month infusion. Let's be real. For some, infusion day is a mix of excitement, anxiety, and perhaps an underlying sense of absurdity. It's a mini adventure into the infusion center or the hospital or wherever you get it done. You walk in and suddenly you're transformed into a mix of science experiment and a VIP at an exclusive club. Picture this. Sitting in a chair with an IV drip attached, surrounded by people who are either dead, asleep, or quietly suffering from fatigue. You can either be the chill person, earbuds in, vibing to your favorite tunes, or the person who is slightly anxious and compulsively checking the clock. What are we all waiting for exactly? The secret sauce of MS relief? Thinking back to 2004. Wow, that was a long time ago. I can still remember the gravity of my first appointment after receiving my diagnosis. It felt like I was hit by a freight train, and the world, as I knew it, slowed to a crawl. I looked at my neurologist at the time and bravely asked, "Doc, if I go on a disease-modifying therapy, will it help me get better?" He looked down at his notes, appeared contemplative, and then gave me that look. The look that said, "No, but this is all we have." That moment felt like a punchline to a joke I wasn't in on. I sometimes wonder, should I just turn away and think, oh, ignorance is bliss, and maybe I'll just ignore this? Fast forward 20 years from that life-changing conversation, and medicine has come a long way. Back then, we had a staggering total of, I think, 1 or 2 disease-modifying therapies. If you can believe it now, we have around 20 different medications approved for MS. You could say the options have exploded like confetti at a New Year's Eve party. But here's the kicker. None of them cure MS. Are we really expecting some kind of magical pill that turns MS into a bad memory? Let me assure you, there is good reason to embrace one of these treatments, but it's not hoping for a cure. Imagine it like embracing a life buoy in the middle of the turbulent sea. You wouldn't just sit there in the storm, would you? You'd want to grab hold of something solid that might help you stay above water. And in this case, a DMT will help you stay above water. Hey, Steve. Now, I know many MS patients, including a past version of myself, reach a point of expectation where they believe that they'll suddenly feel a noticeable difference once they start treatment. And when they find that doesn't happen, they find themselves feeling disillusioned and disappointed and maybe turning away from MS medications. It's like going to your favorite restaurant, excited to dig into a gourmet meal, only to discover they've replaced the chef with someone who only knows how to burn toast. I was asked not long ago how much I believed Ocrevus had contributed to my recovery. I confidently threw out a number. About 25%. Was that accurate? Who knows? But it satisfied that person's need for a statistic. Truth is, I don't see it as a numbers game at all. Most of my MS journey, my life felt like one of those surreal, dreadful reality TV shows, years of suffering with a debilitating fatigue, pain that could take you out on your best day, and spasticity so severe it felt like muscles were auditioning for a role in a horror movie. But now, all of that is a ghost of the past. I can confidently say that not even a sliver remains of any of those. If I could step back into a time machine, I would jump at the chance to redo all of my experiences, choices, and the journey I took to get here. It wasn't easy for me to make the choice to start. Trust me, I hesitated for years, like a kid trying to jump into a swimming pool, but terrified of the chilly water. But the way I saw it, I had a choice. I had two choices. Either do nothing and watch my symptoms progress at a snail's pace, or the other, embrace the journey into the unknown and take a chance for my life. And you know what I did. I chose the latter, thanks to a mixture of stubbornness, optimism, and the desire to try something different. I mean, it was my life. It is my life. I'll do anything for it. Now, let's dive into my essential elements that have brought me to this point. My two favorite tools in my wellness toolbox: diet and exercise. Maybe you're doing one, maybe you're doing both. But those two, I mean, all five are great. And I do all five. But if you just take one, pick either diet or exercise. They've been the foundation on which I've built my newfound strength. And trust me, they are not only essential, but they're life-changing. Now I can hear the groans and see the eyes roll through the computer screen. I know how daunting it seems to maintain a healthy diet and incorporate a regular exercise into our lives, especially when fatigue feels like it has a permanent reservation in our bodies. But I promise you, it can be done. I did it. You can do it. We all can do it. I mean, at first, it felt like climbing Everest just to get out of bed and stumble down the hallway to the workout room. But then I did it, and I dabbled in lifting a few lightweight dumbbells. Those days, I laugh at those days because now my world is full of heavy weightlifting. and intense anaerobic rowing. I mean, what better way to fight the fatigue than by pushing the limits of what my body can do? Heavy lifting has become a cornerstone of my routine. Not only does it build strength, but it also gives me a rush of confidence like nothing else. I've spent countless hours in the gym, hoisting weights I never thought I could lift before. I can feel each rep and imagine the flood of cytokines and chemicals rushing through my brain and setting up the situation to repair my myelin. And the next part is where that happens. Let's talk about my rowing machine. When I hit that machine doing intense anaerobic exercise, it feels like there's a million of tiny little electrical impulses firing throughout my brain and giving all those chemicals a life of their own to remyelinate my brain. Rowing combines strength and cardio in the best way possible. It pushes my limits. My heart races, and every stroke feels powerful. Not only does it help me stay fit, but also clears my mind, giving me a sense of accomplishment that carries over into my daily life. But while I'm lifting and rowing my way to Remyelination, let's not forget about the key player in my MS journey. I mean, sometimes it's forgotten. I mean, sometimes I forget about it. I mean, I only do it every 6 months. But the key player is the Epstein-Barr virus. You might have heard the name before. Epstein-Barr virus, also known as EBV, is a member of the herpes virus family and is notorious for causing infectious mononucleosis, often referred to as mono or more colloquially, the kissing disease. It's easily transmitted via saliva. For most people, it just causes fatigue and a sore throat for a week or two. But not for us. Oh no. EBV is a sinister monster responsible for all of it. EBV primarily infects B cells in us diagnosed with MS. It enters by cleverly latching onto the CD21 receptor on the B cells, resulting in a latent infection that can lie dormant for years until the right time to strike. Once it settles in, EBV makes itself at home and can reactivate just when you least expect it. That's why if you have mono when you're a teenager, it can lie dormant until your 40s or 50s. So it's always just waiting to strike. The complications arise when EBV starts to affect B cell activity. In those of us with MS, EBV infected B cells can proliferate and differentiate into memory B cells or plasma cells, which unfortunately leads to the production of antibodies. Wonderful. When this happens, our immune system spins out of control, mistaking our own myelin as the enemy. The result in the immune system launching on a full-blown attack on itself, it all leads to the neurological symptoms characteristic of MS. But, this is where Ocrevus steps into the spotlight. By targeting the CD20 protein on B cells, Ocrevus binds to them and leads to their depletion through several mechanisms. Sorry to whisper.
People are in here sleeping. Don't want to wake them up.
So to put it simply, by reducing the overall number of B cells, Ocrevus helps lower the number of those rogue cells that may produce antibodies against myelin and contribute to the inflammatory process of MS. Well, Ocrevus has its work cut out for it, and its mode of actions can be summarized in a few key mechanistic ways. Since EBV can cause a crop of potentially harmful B cells, by eliminating these cells, Ocrevus may also cut back on the overall inflammatory response associated with MS, which is worsened by EBV-infected B cells. While Ocrevus doesn't directly attack the EBV virus itself, it may limit its ability to reactivate by depleting the reservoirs of B cells in the body. This means it can significantly help in reducing the severity of EBV's impact on our immune system. So those are the ways. And this is precisely why I chose to start taking Ocrevus a few years ago. I wanted to move to a drug that targeted EBV. I did a lot of reading about EBV, and I made up my mind that this virus was what caused my MS.
She was so proud of herself this morning. She got these blueberries, fresh blueberries, and they were huge. And she snorted one of them right up the nose.
No, I sneezed.
But don't worry, Ocrevus doesn't take out all B cells. It focuses on removing those cells expressing CD20, very specific. They are the key players in the immune response gone crazy. Now, I don't want to sugarcoat the experience of getting my Ocrevus infusion. I mean, it's pretty intense. I mean, there's a pre-infusion routine that can be pretty harsh. My medical team pumps me full of high doses of Benadryl and steroids to help prevent any allergic reactions. Because I have to tell you, when you start, your B cells will start throwing everything it can to stop what the Ocrevus is doing to me. It's almost as if my immune system protests, like a child throwing a tantrum over bedtime. Ocrevus is coming in like a serious authority figure. My immune system needs to accept that I'm taking charge. I'm not stopping. I cannot stress enough to you that while Ocrevus plays a crucial role in my journey, it has to be supported by my other essential elements, including diet and exercise. It's vital that our treatment plans are holistic, because one piece alone doesn't do it, doesn't solve it all. So I know that maintaining a healthy diet and following a solid exercise regime can feel daunting. Believe me, I've gone through it all, especially when fatigue feels like it has taken permanent residence in our lives. But I promise you, it can be done. I just had a flashback to 20 years ago. Initially, getting out of bed felt like I was trying to scale Everest. Leaning on my quad walker, limping my way down the hall. But once I discovered and practiced my weightlifting, for years. I'm telling you, years. I mean, it wasn't like one day I was hobbling down the hall and then the next I was skipping down the hall. But it took me years, and things began to change, and it was the most amazing feeling when it started to do that. Why not push my limits and demonstrate to my body what it's capable of? Heavy lifting has become a cornerstone of my routine. Not only does it build strength, blah, 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 but also gives me a rush of confidence that has begun to redefine how I see MS and how I see my journey. I've spent countless hours in my gym, also known as my garage, hoisting those weights I've never thought I could lift 20 years ago. It's like each rep brings me closer to conquering the peaks of stubbornness that MS tries to throw my way. When I hit that rowing machine, boy, it's an intense anaerobic session. It feels like I'm rowing for my life. Rowing incorporates both strength and cardio, offering a full body workout that pushes my limits. Every time I strap myself onto that rowing machine, I'm not just engaging my muscles, I'm challenging my endurance and mental fortitude. Heart-pounding intensity floods my system with endorphins, which I've told you all about before, and it leaves me feeling accomplished and empowered. So here I am today, feeling like a victorious champion over my MS. My life has changed in so many ways. I couldn't, 20 years ago, I couldn't have imagined that. I want you to know, I had to overcome mountains of obstacles to get here. I kept my faith in myself. And I want you to do it too. If you're considering starting a disease-modifying therapy or pursuing a new treatment like Ocrevus, take a moment to give your thoughts a shake-up. Any nagging worries whispering in the back of your mind, I can just tell you, ignore that inner critic. Everyone's journey is unique, and some options can truly make a significant, life-changing difference. What does your wellness look like to you, and how can you take small steps every day towards achieving that vision? What obstacles have you faced in your MS journey, and how can you frame your challenges as opportunities for growth? If there were no limits, what would your dream treatment look like? And how can you incorporate elements of that dream into your current reality? I ask these questions because they're not just reflections, but tools to help you carve out your path, see the light. So that's how they say it. In a world where MS seems to dictate the narrative, remember that you have the power to co-write your story. 50 years ago, they thought MS was incurable. And today is still incurable, but life 50 years ago was painful, horrible. But we now live in a world where we have so many options. Staying connected with others in the MS community has been one of my greatest assets. Hearing from you guys, sharing tips with you, and supporting you. It has created an invaluable network of strength in me. I love you guys. If you're thinking about pursuing a disease-modifying therapy, which I recommend, remember, you're not alone. Share this video with friends who might be considering getting on a disease-modifying therapy. I want to remind you that while we may find ourselves on the roller coaster ride called MS, we have the ability to steer our course. Just because the symptoms can sometimes feel overwhelming doesn't mean we're powerless. We can thrive. I'm a perfect example of that. I've gone from countless symptoms to no symptoms at all. Not even a faint whisper of one. I love you guys. And thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful or entertaining, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss a video. Your engagement keeps this space vibrant and full of shared knowledge. So, until the next one.